Joining me today. I want to talk about something that I was introduced to 20 some odd years ago. And when I first heard this term starseed, I was kind of like, being a fairly open-minded person, I was like, aren't we all starseeds? So this is something that didn't scare me or blow me away. But I get frustrated with the Western reductionistic kind of model of mental health treatment and medicine that we use. I find it very limiting. I have found it very helpful to combine the science and the data that we have here and combine that with more Eastern thought on such things as energy systems and chakras. And so I wanted to talk about specifically, hang with me to the end, I want to talk about how I think this is very helpful for counselors. One of the reasons I see this is that I talk to so many of our students who are studying to be counselors who can see things such as anxiety and depression and so forth as illnesses. And for me, when I listen to the story, I'm hearing more about managing energy. And so at least let's bring that into kind of our thought process when working with folks, because we're going to see more and more anxiety and depression. And we don't need to treat this as illness all the way. So let's look at this real carefully here. We're talking about Starseed, and I'll tell you from what I've gathered, from what I've read and heard, is, this idea that we've existed elsewhere prior to coming here. Here we are, here on Earth, but maybe we were in a different dimension or a different galaxy or what have you. So that's what that's saying. And I realize if you're not into woo-woo, then you're going to depart at this point, and that's cool. Do what you need to do. But hang with me if you want to kind of maybe expand your perception or understanding. I can assure you this is a term you're going to hear a lot more about, and I don't know what this symbol is. All right, here we go. So again, before birth, were you just nothing, and then you were created, and then you die and go sit by a waterfall and pet your llama? I mean, what is your belief system? And let's take a look at this. Here are some characteristics, and I'm taking this from a bunch of different sources. Here are common characteristics for people that identify as starseeds or have been told they are, so forth. Intolerant, especially intolerant of meaningless conversations, jobs, and relationships. Hypersensitive to light, noise, crowds, negative, fear-based, and grandiose people. Okay, titles may not mean anything to these folks. I think we're going to find with younger folks too, we're going to see greater talents and skills and innate abilities at early ages. I also think with fear-based, they're not going to follow fear-based doctrine. I think they know at birth innately that they are part of the whole. So I think we're going to see some interesting things related to religions and governments and so forth, anything that may use fear to help control. They will experience depression, anxiety, even autism spectrum. That's something that I've read. And so this may be more about energy and not illness or self-esteem or negative self-talk. And if we're not addressing this in the mental health profession, we're just adding to this, frankly. We're just adding to this. I'll talk more about that in a minute. Physical symptoms that are common, immunological issues, that's really hard to spell and say. Chronic pain and fatigue, common ones that I've read about. There's an innate feeling of purpose, mission, and desire to help humanity. That said, they may very well be loners or introverted and spend a lot of time alone. So there can be this desire to help humanity and at the same time not understand people. Oh, I should have put this here. Really feeling like they don't belong. And that could even be up here in this innate. That's a common characteristic, is that folks feel really at an early age like, wow, what is this place? Now, I have read this too, is also that you could be any age or any astrological sign or personality type and be starseed. I have read, however, that if you're born after 2000 and you're a water sign, that it's an increased likelihood. Okay, but that doesn't mean you can't be a Taurus born in the 50s and be, starseed. And again, I go back to, aren't we all? And then, okay, so here's what I want for counselors to think about. Instead of treating anxiety and depression as illnesses, as issues, for problems for people. They are problems. We want to help. Maybe it has more to do with managing the energy. That people that relate to this are more sensitive to negative people, to negative. I mean, think about what's going on in our society today. And people are going to feel that tension and discord, and that's going to result in anxiety and depression and so forth. I hate to say it, but I suspect we're going to see more suicides and maybe even more violence in the next few years. So what I think for counselors to do is to start bringing this into the picture. You don't necessarily need to use this term unless you want to. I think we're going to hear it more and more, as we said. But that, hey, maybe this has more to do, your depression, anxiety has more to do with what's right with you. Maybe you came here in touch with talents and skills that you haven't discovered yet to help us evolve and help us live in a more peaceful, collaborative environment. I think we all want that, regardless of, what we've been indoctrinated in and so forth. We want to live in peace. We want good, the good environment for our kids and grandchildren and so forth. Anyway, I love to hear your comments. I intend to speak more about this. I think I even threatened at a conference that I was going to do a presentation on this. So maybe I'll do that in the fall, or maybe in the spring. Anyway, I'll talk to you. Thank you for joining me, and we will talk to you soon.